In a development that is sending shockwaves through Washington, several former Trump administration officials are now expected to face prosecution after their term, accused of serious crimes ranging from unlawful killings to violations of international law. The revelation marks what many see as justice finally returning from exile, as years of alleged abuse and corruption come under renewed scrutiny. The focus of the investigations includes figures such as Kristi Noem, Stephenmiller, Tomhoman, Petehegseth, and Bondi, names once synonymous with Trump's most aggressive policies. Sources say these are not minor infractions, but possible war crimes and extrajudicial killings disguised as government operations. Reports from intelligence insiders describe chaotic missions off the coasts of Venezuela, Colombia, and Trinidad and Tobago, carried out under the banner of anti-narcotics enforcement. In reality, many of those operations targeted civilian vessels without warning. Survivors allege their boats were destroyed without provocation, and entire crews disappeared. Officials inside United States Southern Command later admitted that many of these missions were based on shaky intelligence and executed under political pressure. Innocent people died, and classified memos were used to conceal what happened. Admiral Alvin Halsey, the four-star commander of United States Southern Command, resigned only a year into his 3-year term, a highly unusual move. Sources close to him revealed deep frustration over what he viewed as reckless, unauthorized actions by Petehegseth. Under Trump's direct approval, Hegseth had turned parts of the Caribbean into an undeclared war zone, where suspected drug traffickers were eliminated without evidence or due process. Halsey, one aide said, saw it as murder by executive order. Even lawmakers began to raise alarms. Democratic Representative Jim Himes, the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, publicly called the operations war crimes committed by America. He pointed out that Congress had no oversight over these missions, which were carried out with no briefings, no legal basis, and no accountability. Labeling someone a terrorist, he said, does not give the White House the authority to execute them. These were illegal killings. The question now being asked is, who gave the orders? Investigators point to Donald Trump himself, along with top aides like Miller, Bondi, Hegseth, and Homan. They are accused of authorizing acts that violated both United States and international law, acting as if political power placed them above justice. Trump has continued to claim immunity, but legal experts say that protection will not extend to those who knowingly broke the law. Illinois Governor jbpritzker, who has hinted at future presidential ambitions, spoke bluntly about accountability. Other than the president, the people who served him can and will be held accountable. When there's an administration willing to enforce the law, he said. Pritzker was referring directly to Miller, who became infamous for policies that separated families, deported children, and weaponized fear. You may think Trump's immunity protects you now, Pritzker warned, but it won't last forever. We have records of everything you've done. Those records are already forming the foundation of future prosecutions. Federal investigators, journalists, and even military insiders have collected documents showing a pattern of falsified warrants, rewritten memos, and direct orders to target civilian vessels. A former Justice Department prosecutor, Harry Littman, put it simply, when you remove the pretense of legal authority, what's left is murder. These are flagrant violations of public trust and the Constitution. Under United States law, immunity applies only to actions taken in good faith. It disappears the moment an official knowingly violates the law. That principle lies at the heart of potential cases against Miller, Hegseth, Homan, and Bondi. They weren't enforcing policy. They were pursuing a political agenda through violence and deception. The normalization of that violence became one of the darkest legacies of the Trump years. The line between foreign military strikes and domestic law enforcement blurred. Drone operations abroad began to mirror the aggressive tactics used by ICE inside American cities. From the Caribbean to Los Angeles, the administration turned law enforcement into an instrument of intimidation. When challenged, they wrapped themselves in the flag, calling critics un-American. But patriotism, lawmakers argue, means demanding accountability when leaders commit crimes. The American public still lacks answers. How many civilians were killed in those covert operations? Who signed the orders? And why did the Justice Department twist legal language to justify lethal actions against unarmed people? Legal experts insist that accountability is not about revenge. It is about restoring the rule of law. Any future prosecutions, they say, must be factual, impartial, and rooted in evidence. Governor Pritzker summarized the sentiment. We're not going to forget. And we're not going to forgive unlawful acts just because a corrupt president told his people to commit them. Each unpunished atrocity, he said, invites the next one. As new evidence surfaces, the circle around Trump appears to be tightening. Even some conservatives are distancing themselves, recognizing that the myth of invincibility has faded. Trump now spends much of his time surrounded by lawyers, fighting off the fear of what happens when his immunity ends. His former aides, Miller, Bondi, Petehegseth, and Tomhoman, are said to be privately anxious, aware that investigators have already assembled extensive case files. History suggests that every administration convinced of its own untouchability eventually faces judgment. The same arrogance that built the Trump political machine could soon become the evidence that destroys it. When that day comes, the world may not mourn. It will simply exhale. In the end, this isn't about left or right. It's about right and wrong. The demand for transparency, justice, and accountability is no longer a whisper. It's growing louder, echoing across courtrooms, newsrooms, and the halls of power. For those who believed they could rewrite the law to serve themselves, the reckoning has already begun.